So, we start Act 3, Scene 1 with Banquo. He's talking to himself by himself. This is one of those moments in Shakespeare where the character is just solo on the screen and talking and revealing their inner thoughts because there's no narration in drama. So, Macbeth has been crowned king. King Duncan is dead. And here we go. I'll just let this play and then we'll talk about it.
Thou hast it now. King, Cawdor, Glamis, all as the weird women promised. And I fear thou playedst most foully for't. Yet it was said it should not stand in thy posterity, but that myself should be the root and father of many kings. If there come truth from them, as upon thee, Macbeth, their speeches shine, why, by the verities on thee made good, may they not be my oracles as well, and set me up in hope? But hush, no more.
Okay, so he's just revealing what's in his head. Thou hast it now, you have it now. King, Cawdor, Glamis, as the weird women promised. So just to recap, and I fear thou playedst most foully for it. I'm afraid you cheated, you played foul, you murdered the king for it. So he's the first character that ever says this out loud. Perhaps Macduff in the last scene was being a little bit sarcastic, but this is the first character to actually accuse him. Myself should be the root and father of many kings, like the witches said, you won't be a king, but your children will. Are they going to set me up in hope? But hush no more. Will things have come true for you? Will they also come true for me? Alright, let's continue. And then, like trumpets, enter Macbeth as king, Lady Macbeth, Lennox, Ross, lords. So Lennox and Ross, you remember, are other just generic thanes. So here we go.
Here's our chief guest.
If he had been forgotten, it had been as a gap in our great feast, and awfully unbecoming.
Tonight we hold a solemn supper, sir, and I'll request your presence.
Let your highness command upon me, to the which my duties are with a most indissoluble tie forever knit.
Okay, so here's our chief guest. Hey, Banquo, where you been? If you had been forgotten, there would be a gap, a hole in our great feast. So there's a dinner party that you need to show up to. Maybe it's like the coronation celebration kind of thing. Tonight we hold a solemn supper, sir. I request your presence. My duties are forever knit, so my duties are set. And then our first, obviously confusing syntax, ride you this afternoon. You ride this afternoon. Ride is the verb, of course, but here we go.
Ride you this afternoon.
Aye, my good lord.
We should have else desired your good advice, which still hath been both grave and prosperous in this day's council. But we'll take tomorrow. Is't far you ride?
All right, so we wanted to, this day's council, we wanted to talk to you today and get your good advice, but we'll talk tomorrow. Are you riding far?
As far, my lord, as will fill up the time twixt this and supper. Go not my horse the better, I must become a borrower of the night for a dark hour or twain.
Go not my horse the better. Don't go, so syntax. I must be your borrower of the night for a dark hour or twain. Twain is two, like Mark Twain, two. So I must be a borrower of the night for an hour or two. I have to ride at night. Like I have far to go, and it is generally dangerous and perilous to do things at night in the medieval world. And the Macbeth says, "Fail not our feast." That's almost like a threat. Do not fail to show up to our feast, to my feast. So when Macbeth says our, he's using the royal we, like the royal family.
Fail not our feast.
My lord, I will not.
We hear our bloody cousins are bestowed in England and in Ireland, not confessing their cruel parricide, filling the hearers with strange invention. But of that tomorrow, when therewithal we shall have cause of state craving us jointly. Are you to horse? Adieu, till you return at night. Goes fleance with you.
Alright, a few things here. So, we hear our bloody cousins are bestowed in England and Ireland. Bloody cousins, that's Malcolm and Donald Blaine, King Duncan's sons. That's where they fled, if you remember, England and Ireland. Not confessing their cruel parricide. That's a different word to say patricide. Like side is murder, like homicide, and patra is father, like pater. Killing of a father. Filling their hearers with strange invention. They're lying in England and Ireland. But we'll talk about that tomorrow. Hie you to horse. Hie is go or hurry. Hurry you to horse, so syntax. Goes fleance with you. Goes your son with you. Your son goes with you. So, of course, why is Macbeth asking this? Probably going to do something not good. And here we go.
Aye, my good lord. Our time does call upon us.
Yes, my good lord. Yes, my son is going with me. We have to go.
Sure horses, swift and sure of foot, and so I do commend you to their backs. Farewell. Let every man be master of his time till 7 at night. To make society the sweeter welcome, we will keep ourselves till supper time alone. While then, God be with you.
And then Macbeth shoos off, all the other lords and his wife. Let every man be the master of his time. Keep yourself busy until 7. We'll be alone until supper time. So like that feast he was talking about with Banquo. And then he shoos everyone out. And here we go.
My lord.
Sirrah, a word with you. Attend those men our pleasure.
They are, my lord, without the palace gate.
Bring them before us.
Okay, so a word with you. You've heard that before, cliche. Hey, can I talk to you? One of his servants. Attend those men our pleasure? Do those men attend our pleasure? Are the men here? They are, my lord, without the palace gate, outside of the palace gate. Bring them before us. Okay, and now here's one of the other great soliloquies from Macbeth. I'm going to just let this play so you feel the effect, and then I'm going to talk about it after he's done. So here we go.
To be thus is nothing, but to be safely thus. Our fears in Banquo stick deep, and in his royalty of nature reigns that which would be feared. 'Tis much he dares, and to that dauntless temper of his mind he hath a wisdom that doth guide his valour to act in safety. There is none but he whose being I do fear, and under him my genius is rebuked. As it is said Mark Antony's was by Caesar. He chid the sisters when first they put the name of king upon me, and bade them speak to him. Then, prophet-like, they hailed him father to a line of kings. Upon my head they placed a fruitless crown, and put a barren sceptre in my gripe, thence to be wrenched with an unlineal hand, no son of mine succeeding. If it be so, for Banquo's issue have I filed my mind. For them the gracious Duncan have I murdered, put rancours in the vessel of my peace only for them, and mine eternal jewel given to the common enemy of man to make them kings, the seeds of Banquo kings. Rather than so, come, fate, into the list, and champion me to the utterance.
And then someone enters. So let's go to the beginning of that, because there's a ton of good stuff here. To be thus is nothing. Thus is this. To be this is nothing, but to be safely thus. So what I have now is nothing, because there's no safety. There's still Banquo, and there's still Duncan's sons, but mainly Banquo. Our fears in Banquo stick deep, and the royalty of his nature reigns. That which would be feared. I'm still afraid of the royalty of his nature, what the kings told him. He hath a wisdom that doth guide his valor to act in safety. He's very wise. He's going to act safely in this chess game that we call the Royal Court of Scotland. There is none but he whose being I do fear. He's the only one I'm afraid of. And under him my genius is rebuked. As I said, Mark Antony's by Caesar, so that's an illusion. Mark Antony was a great general, but not as good as Caesar. So, yeah, I'm good, but I'm not as good as Banquo. So he will outshine me in the end. He chided the sisters, the weird sisters, the witches, and bade them speak to him. So when they gave me predictions, he jumped in. He's like, hey, well, what about me? So I guess Macbeth is emphasizing that he's has desires, something like that. Then prophet-like, they hailed him father of line of kings. Okay, this is super important here. Upon my head they placed a fruitless crown, and put a barren scepter in my gripe. Okay, a fruitless crown. A crown, the kingship, without fruit. Bear fruit, have children. He has no children, so he can't pass on his kingship to anyone. And put a barren scepter in my gripe. So a scepter, it looks kind of like a mace. It's that thing that kings hold. Barren means, normally this is used, it's an old, used in the past for women that can't bear children. They're barren, they can't have children. They placed a barren scepter in my grip. My scepter is barren. So either his kingship is barren, meaning that he has no kids, but also another way of reading this, a scepter is what we call in literature a phallic symbol, a symbol that represents the male reproductive organ. So, just something you hold in your hand, it's long and cylindrical. His scepter is barren. It cannot have kids. Interesting. Alright, let's continue. No son of mine succeeding, so I can't pass this kingship on to anyone. If it be so, and this is a great line too, if it be so, for Banquo's issue have I filed my mind. So syntax there. I have filed my mind for Banquo's issue. Issue is children. So, and filed is defiled. It's just a shortened version. So let's retranslate that line. For Banquo's children, I have defiled my mind. I defiled my mind for his children. I'm going crazy. I did it for his kids. For them, the gracious Duncan, have I murdered. I murdered Duncan for him, because I have no children. Another syntax. Put rancors into the vessels of my peace. Rancors is like chaos. Put chaos into myself. And mine eternal jewel given to the common enemy of man to make them kings. My eternal jewel. He means his soul. The jewel, the valuable part of him, that's eternal, that lasts forever, his soul. I gave up my soul to the common enemy of man. Who's the common enemy of man? That's a nice way of saying the devil, Satan. I gave up my soul to make them kings, the seeds of Banquo's kings. And now he says here, come fate into the list. So list is probably like a medieval fighting tournament. But so here, come into like the battle, fate, and champion me to the utterance. Come on, fate. Bring me to the highest championship that there is. And that's all in Macbeth's brain. So he's actually being very honest. I did terrible things, but I did them for his kids. I didn't do them for my kids. Okay. So, and then someone walks in. This happens all the time with Macbeth. He's in the middle of an awesome soliloquy, and then someone walks in. So you see who's there. And you can see by the stage direction, enter servants and 2 murderers. Yeah, you can guess what their job is and what their purpose is and why they were called.
Who's there? Ah. Now go to the door and stay there till we call. Was it not yesterday we spoke together?
It was. So, please, your highness.
Well then, now have you considered of my speeches? Know that it was he, in the times past, which held you so under fortune, which you thought had been our innocent self. This I made good to you in our last conference. Passed in probation with you how you were borne in hand, how crossed. The instruments, who wrought with them. and all things else that might to half a soul and to a notion crazed say, thus did Banquo.
So, up until this point, Macbeth has been a great warrior. He's been a great murderer, or a pretty good murderer, but he hasn't been a good manipulator. He's been the one that's been manipulated. So he calls on these murderers. Have you considered my speeches? As he said earlier that we talked about this previously. Have you considered my speeches, what I've said? Know that it was he, in times past, which held you so under fortune, under luck, under good graces. So here's people that somehow have a relationship to Banquo and Macbeth, that something bad has happened to them because of that relationship, which you thought had been our innocent self, my innocent self. So they're probably soldiers, maybe deserters, that were punished by Macbeth and Banquo for deserting. Maybe they have some other role, but they're close enough that they know who Macbeth and Banquo are. Maybe they work for Banquo, like they serve his house or something like that. This I made good to you. I made this good to you, a syntax. In our last conference, how you were born in hand, how crossed with instruments. Yeah, all the bad stuff about your life. Oh, I lost it. Yeah, I don't know. Okay. All the bad stuff in your life, say, thus did Banquo. This did Banquo. Banquo did this to me. So, what he's doing is he's trying to turn them against Banquo.
Made it known to us.
I did so, and went further, which is now our point of second meeting. Do you find your patience so predominant in your nature that you can let this go? Are you so gospelled to pray for this good man and for his issue, whose heavy hand hath bowed you to the grave and beggared yours forever?
Okay. I did so. Do you find your patience so predominant in your nature that you can let this go? Could you let this go? That's a cliche, of course. That you're so patient in your nature? Like, are you wimps? Are you going to pray for this man and his issue and his children, whose heavy hand, Banquo's heavy hand, had bowed you to the grave and beggared yours forever? He took everything from you. He made you poor, maybe put you in prison. Are you really going to let this go? Aren't you a man? So he's Lady Macbething them. Okay.
They are men, my liege.
Aye, in the catalogue ye go for men.
All right, so I'm actually going to Sorry about that. I don't know. Sorry about that. That was weird. So, I'm actually going to pre-explain this before it happens. So as it's happening, it will make sense to you, because this is a fairly difficult thing to explain. Remember we talked about the great chain of being, that everything in the universe is ordered and has a rank, a position, in importance, in quality, in fanciness, everything in the universe. And in that great chain of being, people are ordered in terms of greatness and awesomeness and holiness and blah, blah, blah. So what he's going to do is bring up that idea and bring up, hey, dogs are all ranked. There's different types of dogs, right? There's good dogs, bad dogs, mixed dogs, fancy dogs. There's the same way with people, right? And then he's going to try to convince them based on that. So here we go.
As hounds and greyhounds, mongrels, spaniels, curs, choughs, water rugs, and demi-wolves are clept all by the name of dogs. The valued file distinguishes the swift, the slow, the subtle, the housekeeper, the hunter, every one according to the gift which bounteous nature hath in him closed.
Okay, so these are all different kinds of dogs, and they're better and worse and fancier, but they're all called dogs. Some are swift, some are slow, some are subtle, but they're all dogs. Just like people, housekeeper and hunter, everyone has different gifts that bounteous nature hath in him closed. Nature has given people different gifts. Everyone has a different human nature, that nature of the universe, the great chain of being, God has given them. Just like all these different kinds of dogs have different gifts. Some are fast and some are strong and some are chihuahuas. People are like that too. They were given gifts by nature. Okay, let's see where he takes us.
whereby he does receive particular addition from the bell that writes them all alike. And so of men.
This is true of men. That people, animals have to go by whatever nature gave them. The same is true for men.
Now, if you have a station in the file, not in the worst rank of manhood, and I will put that business in your bosoms whose execution takes your enemy off, grapples you to the heart and love of us, who were our health, but sickly in his life, which in his death were perfect.
Okay, so a few things. I will put that business in your bosoms. Your bosom is your chest, in your hearts. I will give you business. I will give you a job to do, which will take your enemy off. Banquo's your enemy. Which in his death were perfect. So the only way to perfectly do the thing I'm going to ask you to do is in his death, in Banquo's death. So he's asking them to assassinate Banquo. And here we go.
I am one, my liege, whom the vile blows and buffets of the world have so incensed that I am reckless what I do to spite the world.
And I another, so weary with disasters, tugged with fortune, that I would set my life on any chance to mend it or be rid on't.
Okay, so I missed something before. You're not in the worst rank of humans, not in the lowest level of human existence, but you're pretty low. You pretty much have no hope, nothing to live for. So she's trying to convince them that they're in a desperate situation. Second murderer, I am one, my liege, whom the vile blows and buffets of the world have so incensed that I am reckless of what I do in spite of the world. Hey, the world has been awful to me, so I'm reckless now. I have nothing to keep safe. Doesn't matter. And I, another, so weary with disasters, tugged with fortune, fate, destiny has pulled me, that I would set my life on any chance to mend it or be rid of it. I would bet my life to have a better opportunity than what I have now, to have a better life than what I have now. That's how terrible my life has been. This is that get rich or die trying cliche. Romeo and Juliet says something very similar to Paris at the end. I think he says, tempt not a desperate man. Hey, I'm crazy. Like, don't you get in front of me because I will kill you. I'll do anything. Okay, so they admit how terrible their lives are.
Both of you know Banquo was your enemy.
True, my lord.
So is he mine. And in such bloody distance that...
So, you agree he was your enemy? Yes, true, my lord. Alright, so he is mine enemy too.
every minute of his being thrusts against my nearest of life.
Every minute he's alive, it's like I'm dead, or I'm threatened of being dying, of being dead.
And though I could, with barefaced power, sweep him from my sight and bid my will avouch it, yet I must not. For certain friends that are both his and mine, whose loves I may not drop, but wail his fall, who I myself struck down.
That's a cool line. And though I could, with barefaced power, barefaced, open-faced, so I can do this out in the open, sweep him from my sight, I could kill him with power out in the open and let it known that it was me. I must not, because we both have friends that would care. Because, they're all royalty, they're related, and things like that.
Thence it is that I to your assistance do make love, masking the business from the common eye for sundry weighty reasons.
We shall.
That I to your assistance do make love. I make love to your assistance. I'm asking you to assist me, to help me. Making the business from the common eye. Do this out of sight, out of common people's eyes, out of anyone's eyes.
My lord, perform what you command us.
Though our lives...
Oh, your spirit shines through you.
And he cuts them off.
Within this hour at most, I will advise you where to plant yourselves. Acquaint you with the perfect spy, the time, the moment on't, for it must be done tonight, and something from the palace.
All right. Tonight, within this hour, so very soon, I will advise you where to plant yourselves, where to be hiding, so this is going to be an ambush. Acquaint yourself with the perfect spy of time, give you the right time. It must be done tonight and away from the palace, so not like right outside of the wall, not in the bathroom, like wait until he's away from the castle.
It's thought that I require a clearness.
I require a clearness. It can never come back to me. There can never be evidence of this.
And with him, to leave no rubs, nor botches in the work. Fleance, his son that keeps him company, whose absence is no less material to me than is his father's, must embrace the fate of that dark hour. Resolve yourselves apart. I'll come to you anon.
Okay, a bunch of things here. Leave no rubs or botches in the work. Don't mess this up. And now Macbeth is going to say in a very nice way, murder his son too. Fleance, his son, who keeps him company, whose absence is no less material to me, whose absence doesn't matter at all to me, the same as his father's, must embrace the fate of that dark hour. It's a very nice way of saying, a very understated way of saying, murder his son too.
We are resolved, my lord.
I'll call upon you straight. Abide within. Ha! It is concluded. Banquo, thy soul's flight, if it find heaven, must find it out tonight.
And then he ends with a rhyming couplet, like a lot of scenes do. It is concluded. It's done. It's decided. Banquo, if thy soul's flight, if your soul's flight, if it find heaven, must find it out tonight. So yeah, you're going to be killed, and if you're going to go to heaven, you'll figure out tonight if you go to heaven. And scene is over.